DevPro here. We're doing the deck profile from our dueling series of Gishki. It's a deck that I really like, and I find it really consistent, and like the whole deck, I have nicknames for like most of the cards because that's what the deck is. Starting off, I like to start off with Gishki Ariel whenever I'm showing this deck to people, and the reason is it's just a flip effect monster. I don't really have any other name for her besides the fact that she just adds anything. That's the whole point of her is you can set her, and then when she's attacked or something, you can get a card, and it's really nice, and I've always been really fond of flip effect monsters, so that is her. The next card is the card known as the Gishki Beast. I always call it Gishki Wolfbark because its effect is when this card is normal summon, you can target level 4 or lower Gishki monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Every single one of the monsters from the deck that is not a ritual is level 4 or lower and can be summoned, except for Gishki Natalia because she is a spirit monster. Next, I'm running 3 Shadow and 3 Vision. Shadow is really good, and especially because you can bring it back with the Gishki Wolfbark because it's a level 4. This is the Gishki Spellbook of Secrets, or just Secrets, and then this is amazing because it's the Monster Searcher. There's no real nickname for this. It's just a card that lets me search for my ritual monsters. Now, these cards can both function as the entire ritual, but most of the time I use this card just to search for the ritual because sending the ritual for the ritual activates the ritual spell card mirrors effect. Next, we got 3 copies of the Gishki Stratos. This card is really nice because what it does is when it's summoned, I can add any Gishki with 1,000 or less defense, which is all of them, except for the card Gishki Wolfbark, which is a new addition, and then the rituals do not have less than that. As well as the flip effect monster cannot be searched with this, but there's no reason to search for a searcher off of the effect. Moving on, I do have 2 copies of the Gishki Level Chain. I had not really had much of a nickname until a better man actually came up with one, because what this card does is it lets me choose the top card of my deck, which is really nice. And to round off the Gishki effective monsters that are not ritual, I have one Gishki Natalia. You can play a 3rd Gishki Avance instead, but I like Natalia. I've always loved her. She's one of my favorite cards. I love her card art, just to bring it up a little bit so you can see it a little better, hopefully. She's a really pretty card. She is a spirit, so she goes back to your hand, and she cannot be special summoned. But the main thing that's good about her is when she is summoned, then that turn you can just read it exactly for you. It says, when this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you can target a Gishki monster in your graveyard and put it on top of your deck. Now, what that means is, using this card during a late kind of stall game situation, you can constantly stack to the top of your deck cards such as Shadow, the Wolfbark, or even just the Vision. The main thing that you can do is you can normal summon her, put back on top of your deck the Wolfbark, and then you can use it again on the next turn. For non-Gishki regular monsters, I run 3 Beautunaful Princess. This card is an okay card, it's a good card. The main thing is you run multiple because you really want to get the cards that you need. And being able to run 3 of a card that'll search for the cards you need is really nice. You really want to open with 1 Vision and 1 Spellbook of Secrets, just because having both of them is really good, and you can search for the cards that you need, which is the monster and the spell. And so this card helps you get to it because this card, all it does is lets you summon a level 4 or lower fish type monster from your deck. You don't have very many of those. In fact, I believe the only target you can summon off of this is Abyss. Let me double check really quick for you. Yes, that's what I thought. It only lets you summon Abyss, so there's really no other purpose for it, except for the fact that now it's a water. You can use discard outlets in this deck. I don't really use it for that, but this deck is very kind of OTK oriented, or fast paced, and so the whole point of this is just to get you to be able to special summon that card. It does have the restriction that it can only special summon the monster from your deck, but that's not a big deal, so yeah. And the only other one I run is one of the Tidal, what you can use with Tidal, and then one of the Vit duels I missed an effect is you can discard a card to send to your graveyard a water monster, and I could have discarded him and another card and sent to my graveyard the ritual, and then I could have actually summoned another ritual, but I still ended up winning that duel anyways, so it did not end up costing. Now, you saw a lot of duels I did in our little bonus game 3. He really wanted to show off something that the deck could do, but because it's a fast-paced deck versus a fast-paced deck, with both decks being OTK decks, it's kind of whoever got their combos off first won, especially with the fact that my combo is a combo that undoes the opponent's combo, which is something that's really, really good. Yeah, the other thing is you do end up with a lot of cards in the graveyard since you are constantly discarding, and you do only need 1 copy of Shadow and 1 copy of Vision if you have the right cards in your hand. So being able to banish off extra copies of those, or just extra cards that you didn't need, is really nice, because then you can just summon a 26 beater. For the ritual spells, we are running 3 Zielgigas and 1 copy of Gustkraken. I didn't use Gustkraken, and I only use Gustkraken in certain situations. The main point for this is when I'm facing something such as Ghost Tricks, where I'm really worried about kind of hand traps and hand cards that can do something against me. The main thing that we worry about is Zielgigas, because he is the main point of the deck. He is the Midolce Queen, as I call it, all the time. This card is effect. I will read it to you. It is, let's see if I can get it to focus really quick. I don't know, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, sorry. I'll just read it to you like this from here. Its effect is, you can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, draw 1 card. If you do, reveal it. Then, if it was a Gishki monster, shuffle 1 card from the field into the deck. Because of the placement of the semicolon, the effect goes once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, semicolon. That is when your opponent is allowed to chain cards. So, you are then able to draw a card and return a card into the deck if it was Gishki, and then upon that point, you obtain a Midolce Queen-like effect. So, the whole thing that we do is we summon a 3,200 attack point monster that could potentially do it. In my opinion, it's a better version of Upstart Goblin, because you pay 1,000 instead of having to give your opponent 1,000, and it's really nice. Upstart Goblin's not bad in this deck because you do poke huge damage, and it is a very OTK oriented deck. But once again, I'm not the biggest fan of Upstart in very many decks. Another one of the main cards in the deck is the Gishki Aquamirror. To read its effect for you really quick, this card can be used to ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster. You must also tribute monsters on the field or from your hand whose levels equal the total ritual monster you ritual summon. You can shuffle this card from your graveyard into the deck to target 1 Gishki ritual monster in your graveyard, return it to the hand. This card does 2 things. 1, it makes it so we can summon this without any huge cost like some of the other ritual spells do have. And 2, it also allows us to return this to our hand and keep that card in our deck. Now, Spellbook of Secrets and the Vision both have the ability to act as the full tribute, and so that's really, really good. But in the end, the whole point of this is the whole deck just summons Zielgigas really fast. For other spells, we're playing 3 Salvage. It's really good because our main 2 cards, as I keep talking about, they are both under the attack limit of this, along with the majority of the deck. The only card, there are very few cards in the deck that cannot be recycled by this card, and the very few cards that cannot be recycled by this card can generally be recycled by their own cards. The only monster in the main deck, I believe, that is not Tidal, that is not recyclable, is Natalia, and she is a spirit and kind of recycles herself. Everything else is able to be recycled by either this or Tidal himself, which recycles himself, and the spell recycles the ritual. So the deck does a really good job of cycling itself. And I do play a Darkhold. The reason why I played the Darkhold, despite the better man saying so in the video, was it helps me do OTKs, and I can kind of wipe field and focus on back row with the effects, but a lot of times it has been problematic at times. I would suggest trying to play something like maybe MST or something in place of it, since you do not necessarily need that card. Moving on to traps, I'm playing 2 of the Aquamirror Meditation. This is just another version of Salvage. It's just a trap version, and I have to reveal the spell card to activate it. Next, I have 2 Metal Reflect Slime. This card's really nice because I can flip it up, and it's level 10, and it acts as the entire tribute for the Gishki monster, which is something that I'm not able to always do. Next, I have 2 Trap Stun. I can't find my second foil one. Before you talk about that, I don't know. Trap Stun is just really nice in this deck. I was running other cards, but Trap Stun ended up being nice because it allows me once again to go for my push, flip up Trap Stun, go in, and then go all in, and just kind of wins for games. And the last 2 cards I'm running in the main deck are 2 Dark Bribe. I was using Wiretap. I used Wiretap for a while, but I just kept losing duels because of spell cards, not because of traps. And because I can flip up Trap Stun, and then I can use a whole bunch of just effects and combos to be able to hit my opponent's other cards. It's just really nice. And so the Dark Bribe I found to be a little more effective upon stopping things because it can stop spells as well. That was my 100% reasoning, and I do not care if my opponent gains advantage of a single card because a lot of times I'm able to bounce those cards back into the main deck. Going on to extra, this is not technically a complete extra deck. This is just kind of one that I threw together, but I do use a lot of the cards in here. I also use a couple cards that I'll explain afterwards. Main card, I use Abyss Dweller. It boosts your monster's attack, and once again, you really just want to OTK. Another card I run is Ragnazero. You saw the combo today, I believe. It might have been one of the duels that didn't record. And what happened was, my opponent had a monster, whose attack gained 1,000, and it was too strong, but I was able to use this card right here to destroy it, and use the fact that I can stack my own top card using the Gishki Levolval Chain, and I could draw the card I stacked, which is really nice. We do use cards like this, not because we can actually protect it, because we do not have any field spells, though we could be playing Mound of the Bound Creator, which I'll explain at the end. But the main thing that we can use at this is just the extra 2,000 attack, Rhapsody and Berserk, because we do have the Wolf Bark, along with the Blackship, Cowboy, Crazy Box. I only use Crazy Box because I don't have a Shark Knight myself. I am thinking about buying one. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. We have Utopia, just once again, just because. I do actually, online I play the other cards such as the Bahamut Shark and the Evigishki Ariel and such, and I do have those in the online deck, but I just don't feel like buying them, and I don't really care all that much. So in the end, I'm just using kind of for fun extra deck. Then for rank 10s, I used Superdreadnought, Rail Cannon, Gustav Max, Skypalace Gangaridai, and a couple other just random ones. These are the ones I currently have with me, and these are the only ones I really use. You don't need anything else. This card pops a card, and this card does 2,000 damage. There are very rare times where you'll actually need another rank 10, but you know. We do have 5 of them in the deck that we can potentially use. Along with rounding off for just level 2s, we have the Gachi Ganatetsu. The only reason is it gives you an attack and it sits on the field for a while. You can use the Ghost Trick card if you feel like it, but you'd have to be able to summon multiple, so you'd have to summon 2 in order for it to be any use. In the end, that was just the main of it. There is no side deck because we did not prepare side decks, since these decks are supposed to be just for fun, but this is a really fun, really consistent deck. Now, just talking about what I said earlier, there are other cards you can use in the deck. I personally never was a big fan of Mound of the Bound Creator, but you can easily use it because all your main cards are level 10. If you do use it, you are in a very good situation when you have it off, because then, or out on the field, because then all your cards are suddenly practically invincible. I would also suggest trying to run out MSTs, and if you do really want to use the wiretap, you can. Whenever I do a deck profile, I try to tell people cards that they can change to hopefully fit more of their playstyle or how they want to play the deck. And this is just how I've found the deck the most efficient. You did see a lot of duels today, and you got to see the consistency. I think I had one game the entire day where my hand was not ideal, and even in the game that I lost, I did have a really good hand, a pretty decent one. At least I could have done a lot of things upon the next turn, but you know, when your opponent has an OTK deck, it just makes it difficult. I love this deck. It's really fun. Hidden Arsenal is one of my favorite little series that Konami ever did. Tell me what you think of this deck and what you would change in the comment section below, and as always, have a wonderful day. Yeah.